Welcome to the Payne Institute podcast. I'm here with Dr. Morgan Bazilian, professor of public policy at School of Mines, former lead energy specialist at the World Bank, and the director of the Payne Institute for Public Policy.
Thanks for having me, Jordy.
No problem.
It's a
Morgan.
privilege to be on our first podcast.
So Morgan, can you tell us a little bit about the Payne Institute?
I'd be delighted to. So, Jordy, we've started the Payne Institute in earnest really about only 2 years ago in 2018. We started with a generous donation from Jim and Arlene Payne. And one thing Jim said to me when I first started about his vision was that his vision was to leverage the university's first-rate academic research and have the Institute serve as one of the country's premier venues for those engaged in public policy discourse on the challenges shaping our future. And so we're chasing and shaping and refining and augmenting Jim's vision. And the simple idea is to take the extraordinary engineering, science, and math research and experience at the School of Mines and connect that with public policy, with context, with the rest of the world. And we're doing that in a number of ways through convening, through research, through multidisciplinary collaboration, and through partnership.
That's great. A lot of your focus seems to be on the changing energy landscape. Is there anything you can do to elaborate on that?
As we look at the dramatic changes in the energy landscape, one thing we know is that we have been very bad at predicting what the energy future is going to look like. And that is proven in study by study. And we've actually written a whole academic paper on looking at how difficult it is to predict these uncertainties and tried to consider different types of risk and uncertainty in doing that. If we look at the energy sector, what we see is a nonlinear growth in energy demand as services have changed, as industrial revolutions have changed the way we power, heat, and cool our economies. And that steeply upward curve is now confronting the need globally for a different type of curve that looks downward in terms of carbon emissions and environmental emissions. And so it's not entirely apparent how that curve gets bent or changes. That's why it becomes so important to work with a solutions-oriented focus and to work from problems and not from disciplines. And that's what we're doing here. We're taking the tagline of the university, Earth, Energy, and Environment, taking specific areas in each one of those, and we're looking at them, creating data platforms, creating research, creating commentary, and creating discussion, all with the hopes of better informing the energy transition. And we're doing all of that with humility. So the energy landscaping is changing, and what we see that in many different contours, and we see it all over the world at different scales. And if we think of this as an energy transition, then we can pull out different aspects of that energy transition and help inform decision making. And that energy transition is being driven by several different drivers, including climate change and the need to lower carbon emissions. There's also drivers of development and equity, economic development and social development globally. And there are drivers such as energy security that have been important for national and international policy for many decades. And so if we take all of those drivers and then we can layer them onto the different contours of the energy transition, we come up with some really interesting, globally important questions. And some of them are urgent. And so as an example, we see changes in the United States from the shale revolution. The United States is now exporting natural gas to over 30 countries. We're exporting oil and products all over the world. And that is changing the global energy landscape from the perspective of economics and where those things go, but also geopolitically and the relationships they are impacting. There are other transitions happening, like the dramatic price declines in renewable energy, seeing huge price declines in solar energy and wind energy over the last decade. And those are having impacts on electricity markets.
How exactly do you translate this research into influencing public policy? And are there ways that the Payne Institute goes about informing the public of these changes and how they're being addressed?
We're doing that from a university, so we don't undertake advocacy. What we're doing is we're convening as an honest broker. We bring in different views from all over the world to Colorado. We have regular discussions with decision makers from government, from the investment community, from academia, and from nonprofits. We have partnerships with all of those organizations, and we're, as a small, nascent institute, our partnerships are essential for our growth, but also leveraging our influence. And we're putting out regular cutting-edge research and also more accessible commentary into the public domain. So one of the things the Payne Institute can leverage here at the School of Mines is that we believe the School of Mines has been engaged in training and leading the energy landscape for the last 150 years, and we're going to help shape the school and the university's students and faculty to do the same for the next 150 years. So one of the challenges that the globe is facing as we look into this uncertain future and whatever pathway these energy transitions will take is a dual challenge of making sure that the energy system meets the needs of these growing demands from developing countries at the same time as becoming more and more low carbon. And so that's a fundamental challenge. It can be achieved, but it's not going to be achieved solely through technology. And what's needed often in these cases is policy, legislation, regulation, and discussion. And so we're going to contribute to meeting those dual needs through those various pathways, recognizing that solely a technocratic approach will be insufficient. One important thing as we go forward is partnership. And we take our partnerships very seriously at the Payne Institute and find that they're our best pathway towards creating and supporting this vibrant energy transition. One way we've gone about starting that conversation is by initiating a U.S. network of energy institutes. And we convened our first meeting together with Rice University and Carnegie Mellon University this autumn, and we had over 60 different institutes there. And the idea is to find ways to work together so that we're not working at odds. There's plenty of work to be done by the groups, plenty of research, plenty of information to be put out. And what we want to do is work in synergy, at least some of the time, with these other institutions. And going forward, we hope to just grow the strong partnerships that we're building now in order to ensure our efficacy and our effectiveness. We'd encourage you to sign up for our newsletter that goes out monthly at this point. And our website is kept regularly up to date. That's payneinstitute.mines.edu. And come visit us here in beautiful Golden, Colorado.